we choose life!
Today is March 24th, March for Our Lives, but it is also the birthday of Nick Duarte, someone that I was senselessly murdered in front of me. Today is his birthday. I would like to sing together, Happy Birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nick. Happy birthday to you.
My goodness, what do you say after that? There are no words.
In her silence, she said so much.
Exactly. Well, top stories are just ahead. We'll have more on this historic day for these students around the world. I'm Natalie Allen.
And I'm George Howell. Newsroom right back after the break. Stay with us.
Home. The place where you create those special moments. We celebrate the home and the way you live in it. At 3 Day Blinds, we help you create that special place. And because we know you're busy, we bring the showroom to you at your convenience and provide a design expert to help you find the perfect solution that fits your style and budget. 3 Day Blinds. You'll love the treatment. To schedule your free in-home design consultation and free installation, go to 3dayblinds.com.
Hello!
Everybody says hello.
G'day!
Hola.
Konnichiwa.
Do you happy? Just say hey.
안녕하세요.
Hey. Everybody says Dino. Sure, just how just you.
Swatika.
Everybody does.
Sanunka.
Come on, baby, hey, honey.
Привет.
Come on, baby, hey, honey. Come on, baby. Hey, everybody says hello. Hey, dile selo. Hey, dile selo. Na 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 na. Just say honey. Just say hello.
GAC Motor.
My name is Jeff Sheldon, and I'm the founder of UgMonk. Before ShipStation, it was crazy. Like, it's great when you see, 100 orders come in, but then you realize I got 100 orders that I actually have to ship out. ShipStation streamlined that whole process. The order data, the weights of the items, everything is seamlessly put into ShipStation. So when we print the shipping label, everything's pretty much done. It's so much easier. So now we're ready, bring on the orders.
ShipStation, the #1 choice of online sellers. Go to shipstation.com/TV and get 2 months free.
You know their name. You don't know their whole story.
American Dynasties, The Kennedys. Tonight at 9 on CNN.
This is a non-attorney spokesperson paid advertisement. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with any type of lung cancer, asbestosis, or mesothelioma, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you worked in an industrial plant, naval ship, mill, power plant, shipyard, railroad, construction, or automotive industries, you may have been at an increased risk of lung cancer. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with lung cancer, even if your loved one died, call the attorneys Allen and Nolte at 888-534-5291. That's 888-534-5291.
Introducing FreePrints, the free 5-star app that lets you get all those great photos off your iPhone or Android phone and into your hands in just days. FreePrints lets you print up to 1,000 4x6 photos a year absolutely free. All you pay is a small shipping and handling charge. It's easy. Just select the photos you want to print on your phone or on Facebook or Instagram, then choose the sizes and quantities, and you're done. The app is free, and so are the prints. Get FreePrints today. Just go to freeprints.tv. That's freeprints.tv.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
In a march for their lives, hundreds of thousands of people rally around the world in solidarity to protect children, not guns.
Plus, the Vote Leave Brexit campaign is accused of cheating as a whistleblower alleges the group broke campaign rules.
The U.S. commander who has access to nuclear codes warns North Korea the U.S. is ready for any missile strike. We have an exclusive look inside U.S. Strategic Command.
It is 5 a.m. here on the U.S. East Coast and live from CNN World Headquarters in Atlanta. We want to welcome our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm George Howell.
I'm Natalie Allen. Newsroom starts right now. A thunderous standing room only rally led by teenagers who have a clear message on gun violence. Enough is enough. Hundreds of thousands of demonstrators marched for their lives in Washington Saturday, a show of force standing with the Stoneman Douglas High School students from Florida who survived a mass shooting on Valentine's Day. That's when a gunman, a former student, opened fire at their school, killing 17 students and teachers.
Take a look from up above here. This satellite image, Digital Globe captured the march. It's not just that moment that's making up this big movement around the world. In California, in Florida, every state in between, people heard students rallying cries. They participated in their own marches. Portland, Oregon there, just look at the streets filled with people. Boston, look at these big crowds that showed up. People gathered in hopes that they too can finally say never again. CNN's Ryan Nobles highlights some of the most powerful moments at these marches around the United States.
On a day filled with loud cries,
Sing it to the rooftops.
powerful songs, and energizing speeches,
We are not here for breadcrumbs, we are here for real change.
it may have been the sound of silence that best captured the moment. Emma Gonzalez, a young woman who has become one of the most recognized faces of the movement born out of the massacre that took place in the halls of her school, stood stone-faced and silent.
6 minutes and about 20 seconds. In a little over 6 minutes, 17 of our friends were taken from us.
Gonzalez and a cadre of her fellow Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School students took their pain and turned it into action that culminated in marches and rallies all over the world. From Boston to Chicago,
The violence that they experience every day.
Denver to Los Angeles, and back to Parkland, Florida, where the shooting took place.
Enough is enough.
While they may have only had each other when those shots rang out, they had the support of hundreds of thousands, including celebrities.
One of my best friends was killed in gun violence right around here, so it's important to me.
Pop stars.
Let the ways of love be the ways of man.
And even the granddaughter of a civil rights icon.
I have a dream that enough is enough. And that this should be a gun-free world, period.
Their hope is to do much more than march. They want action, specifically stricter gun laws, something the federal government has been reluctant to do.
Stand for us or beware, the voters are coming.
And the debate over guns remains divisive. Counter rallies were held in cities like Boston and Salt Lake City. But these students are hoping this movement is different, that common ground will be reached. And they are warning their leaders they won't be giving up until they get the change they are looking for.
For many of these students that marched in these rallies across the country, this fall will be the first time that they'll be able to participate in an election. And many of them are running to the ballot boxes. In fact, many of the Parkland students have said that before this tragedy, they never even thought about politics. Now it's become one of their most important priorities. Ryan Noble, CNN, Washington.
Ryan, thank you. And Ryan just mentioned in his piece, Emma Gonzalez, the power of her silence. We want to bring you that moment one more time.
Right, before her 4 minutes of silence, she described the effects of gun violence and recited the names of her classmates who had been killed. Here's part of what she said.
Everyone who has been touched by the cold grip of gun violence understands. For us, long, tearful, chaotic chaotic hours in the scorching afternoon sun were spent not knowing. No one understood the extent of what had happened. No one could believe that there were bodies in that building waiting to be identified for over a day. No one knew that the people who were missing had stopped breathing long before any of us had even known that a code red had been called. No one could comprehend the devastating aftermath or how far this would reach or where this would go. For those who still can't comprehend because they refuse to, I'll tell you where it went. Right into the ground, 6 feet deep. Fight for your lives before it's someone else's job.
Emma Gonzalez has certainly been a beacon to this movement. Gun violence in the U.S., of course, isn't exclusive to mass school shootings or mass shootings, which is an epidemic here, but those tragedies are giving students perspective on how much violence other people their age face across the country.
That's what happened to a student who survived last month's shooting in Florida, the school attack, when he visited Chicago and met with other young people to deal with gun violence on a daily basis. Here's what he had to say to CNN's Van Jones.
When I went to Chicago, what kind of hit me was what the feeling that I was getting. From our perspective, it broke our hearts because this was something that none of us had ever imagined possible to happen to us. And it's been happening to them every single day for their whole lives. And everyone in that city, all over the world. And for them, it was kind of like, for them, it was kind of like, oh my God, this happens other places too. It's not just us. So we kind of got to relate on a certain level, and it really brought us together. You know, I look at these guys as my friends now, you know, not just people. I
have to tell you, having been a correspondent for CNN in Chicago, we talk about these school shootings when they happen, but to cover these stories day after day after day after day after day, to see the families, the pain, yes, it is fair to say that, you know, it is something that Chicago has been dealing with, fighting for a long time.
A lot of cities have, for certain.
Well, people all around the world marched in solidarity with gun violence victims in the United States. Rallies were held on every continent except Antarctica. In London, people lay down in a moment of silence, honoring the Florida school shooting victims.
Protesters in Paris gathered near the Eiffel Tower to show their support, and Hong Kong held a march Sunday where people held signs reading, "Fear has no place in school," and "Protect kids, not guns."
Well, the U.S. president was not in Washington, D.C. In fact, he was at his resort in Florida as the thousands of demonstrators filled the streets just steps from the White House. He has been silent about the event.
The White House did release a short statement citing the president's support for stronger gun background checks. Part of the statement read, "Keeping our children safe is a top priority of the president's, which is why he urged Congress to pass the Fix NICS and Stop School Violence Acts and sign them into law."
The powerful gun lobby, the National Rifle Association, seized on March for Our Lives as a fundraising opportunity. It posted a promotional video Saturday that slammed that event.
Here's part of that message. The NRA said this: "Gun-hating billionaires and Hollywood elites are manipulating and exploiting children as part of their plan to destroy the Second Amendment and strip us of our right to defend ourselves and our loved ones." Despite that harsh rhetoric, some NRA supporters in Congress say curbing gun violence in the U.S. is possible. One of them is Brian Mast, a Republican congressman from Florida.
Our Aaron Burnett asked him if he would support changes to current gun laws as a member of the NRA. Here's his response.
If you say anything about what goes on with the possession of a firearm, you're absolutely against the Second Amendment. And that's not true. We've been on a line since the days of Al Capone, where the National Firearms Act has gone out there and regulated. You can't purchase off the shelf a fully automatic firearm. You can't buy a sawed-off shotgun. You can't buy a rifle under 26 inches or a silencer, suppressor, whatever somebody wants to call it. That's been regulated for a long time. And then you see the governor of Florida saying, hey, we're going to change the age. You see see different people debating what's the age you should purchase a pistol at or a rifle at. Most people acknowledge that there is a line somewhere, and that's where we have to debate is where does that line belong? What should you be able to purchase off the rack? What should you not be able to purchase off the rack? And having that debate doesn't mean that you're against the Second Amendment.
Let's bring in Leslie Vinjamuri. Leslie teaches international relations at SOAS University of London, live in our London bureau this hour. Always a pleasure to have you here on the show, Leslie. One major issue that's been brought to light, raising the minimum age to buy firearms. In Florida, the Republican governor of that state actually followed through on the promise, going against the NRA. And it's something that the U.S. president has also tweeted about and talked about as well. Let's listen.
We're going to work on getting the age up to 21 instead of 18.
You can't buy a handgun at 18, 19, or 20. You have to wait till you're 21. But you can buy the gun, the weapon used in this horrible shooting at 18. It doesn't make sense that I have to wait till I'm 21 to get a handgun, but I can get this weapon at 18.
So those were his words there, Leslie, but we have seen him back away from those comments, citing a lack of political support. Is the president caving to the NRA?
Well, I think there is a broader question of, we've seen the president at different points in times indicate that he would support a range of gun control measures and then back off because of the pressure that's coming from the NRA, from the feeling that he won't get this through Congress. And he's vacillated in the way that he has on a number of dimensions. But this movement is really quite remarkable. The protests across the United States, across the world, and remember that's really remarkable given that the rest of the world, certainly the rest of the democratic world, does not experience gun violence in the way that the United States does. Nonetheless, on every single continent, people took to the streets in response to a mobilization that's been very much student-led. So the president backing off these initiatives will become increasingly difficult, not only for the president, but for members of Congress as we approach the midterm elections. I think the goal of the student-led mobilization and these protests is to really sustain the passion around this issue of gun violence. Remember that a majority of Americans want more gun control. They just don't tend to vote on this issue. The people who vote on this issue are the people who don't want to see increased restrictions. Others care, but it tends not to be the number one issue. So the passion, the mobilization, I think, is really the mechanism that could change things if this kind of mobilization is sustained. And it's really been very extraordinary to watch, again, as I said, not just in the United States, but across the world. And when the rest of the world looks back at America, they're just genuinely puzzled. It's very difficult to understand why there aren't greater restrictions on the access to guns.
All right, Leslie, but it is important to note as well, there is some progress to report about on the federal level. If we could take a look here, we have a breakdown of what's happened at the Justice Department establishing rules regarding bump stocks, the Trump administration establishing a school safety commission, Congress passing a spending package to strengthen background checks, and the House passing a bill to fund more security at schools. But Leslie, given what we have seen clearly on the streets in Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Boston, Portland, around the world, is this going to be enough for people demanding more?
Well, I think what people are looking for now, what the students are looking for, what the people who are protesting or who are on the streets are looking for is a ban on assault weapons, to close the loopholes on and to have universal background checks. So it's the beginning, but it's not enough. They're looking for a great deal more. And so the question is whether, some of those things, bump stocks, are really obvious and much easier to achieve. And so the question now is whether there will be the sustained pressure, and when people go to the polls at the midterm elections, whether this will become an issue that leads to congressmen thinking very differently about the measures that they're willing to support. And remember that there were changes. There have not only been federal changes, but in the state of Florida there were changes. But nonetheless, there was not a vote to ban assault weapons. And this is, just in the weeks after the shootings in Parkland. So very disappointing for the students, but they haven't let it deflate their energy. They've continued to mobilize, and I think we'll see another school walkout, I think on April 20th. And this movement, I think, is very much likely to continue. Remember that youth voters, those youth the youth under 18 who are not yet eligible to vote, 53% of them would like to see more gun control as they get to the age where they become voters. If they sustain that passion, this movement will again have a lot of energy behind it. So that the youth are in this country, I think, in the United States, are really critical to this movement.
Leslie Finger-Murray, thank you so much, live in London.
Thank you.
Even the term bump stocks has a heinous ring to it. Well, coming up here, we'll show you more of the rallies around the world.
Alzheimer's is a thief. It steals memories. It steals personalities. But every day is a chance to fight for light, to hold on to hope. With Alzheimer's, hope is found in the smallest of moments that remind you why you do all you do. Visit learnaboutalz.com.
AT&T gives you more for your thing. Your snapping pics all day, all night thing. You are getting the low light, just right thing. Introducing the Samsung Galaxy S9 with low light camera, now 50% off. More for your thing. That's our thing.
Define your brows. Express yourself. Brow Stylist Shape and Fill Pencil by L'Oreal. The easy-to-use triangular tip shapes and fills. The spoolie brush blends. Brow Power. Brow Stylist Shape and Fill from L'Oreal Paris.
For drug-free sinus relief, experience Navage, the next big thing in nasal care. Navage is the only nose cleaner with powered suction to pull refreshing saline rinse in one nostril and out the other. Navage relieves congestion from allergies and colds naturally by flushing out allergens, mucus, dust, and germs.
I used to get so congested, but Navage cleans out all the stuff that makes me miserable so I can breathe again.
Now at CVS and Navage.com, you'll love that clean nose feeling.
Omelets with pancakes, and omelets with pancakes, and omelets with pancakes, and pancakes with omelets. Omelets, pancakes, pancakes, omelets, and more. Order online and skip the line. Get $5 off your first order with iHop and Go.
I was so congested, and neti pots, drugs, and nasal sprays were just not doing the job. I was sure nothing would work until I tried the My Pure Mist Free Steam Inhaler. My doctor told me that steam is a really effective natural decongestant. With my little personal spa, I am free to breathe. It's the only cordless and the only ultra pure steam inhaler. If allergies or sinus congestion is holding you back, you need to try the My Pure Mist Free.
Get My Pure Mist at Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, or Amazon.
Breaking news in the ball tampering scandal rocking Australian cricket. The captain and vice captain of the country's national team have agreed to step down for the remainder of the third test against South Africa. Captain Steve Smith has admitted to knowing about the plan to alter the ball.
This comes after fielder Cameron Bancroft was caught on camera with yellow tape. Both Bancroft and Smith have apologized. Here's Bancroft explaining how it all went down. Oops, sorry. We don't have that soundbite right now, but we'll continue to follow that breaking news story from the sports world. A former volunteer is accusing the official Brexit campaign Vote Leave of breaking campaign finance rules ahead of the referendum. The whistleblower tells Britain's Channel 4 that Vote Leave used a separate campaign group called Believe to deliberately spend more than the authorized campaign limit.
In effect, they used Believe to overspend, and not just by a small amount, by £250,000 they overspent, and the impact of that, the difference between Leave winning over Remain was just a few percentage points, and that almost £250,000 makes all the difference, and it wasn't legal.
All right, following the money, the majority of that money allegedly went to the Canadian data firm Aggregate IQ, AIQ. That firm has been linked to Cambridge Analytica. You'll remember that group is accused of misusing Facebook user data to target voters.
I know that Vote Leave cheated, that people had been lied to, and that the referendum wasn't legitimate. Now we're going on a path, to Brexit based on lies, based on cheating, based on what is essentially a scam. And what does that mean for our democratic process? The decision I agree with. Leaving the European Union I agree with, but I don't agree with losing what it means to be British in that process.
A lawyer with Vote Leave said it has twice been cleared on this matter by Britain's Electoral Commission, but the group will investigate the new allegations. And the Canadian data firm that George just mentioned, Aggregate IQ, denies any wrongdoing. It also says it has never entered into a contract with Cambridge Analytica.
Now, in the meantime, Stephen Parkinson, who was the then national organizer for Vote Leave, Stephen Parkinson denying all the allegations. Parkinson is now the political secretary, though, for the Prime Minister, Theresa May. He told Channel 4 this: "I had no responsibility for digital campaigning or donations on the Vote Leave campaign, and am confident that I stayed within the law and strict spending rules at all times." Now, Parkinson is also being criticized for revealing in his statement that he had a relationship with the whistleblower.
Earlier, our colleague Cyril Vanier spoke about that with the reporter who brought this story to light, Channel 4's political correspondent Michael Crick.
He is in a very senior position in Downing Street, working under Theresa May, one of her longest-standing advisors. And he said he could only defend himself on this issue by pointing out that Shamir Sani, who you saw just there, and he were in a gay relationship for about 18 months during and after the referendum campaign. Mr. Sani says that it's terrible that Mr. Parkinson has outed him in this way, that his family didn't know about him being gay, that it's endangered some of his family in Pakistan, where he originates from. So you've got that argument going on at the same time as this whole argument.
Do you feel Mr. Parkinson did that on purpose?
Well, Mr. Parkinson says he can only defend himself by explaining this relationship. But it certainly muddies the water here. It raises the question as to whether Mr. Sani was motivated by feelings other than his professed horror at what the Vote Leave campaign, in his opinion, did. I mean, it is interesting that Mr. Sani and two other whistleblowers who've also come forward last week and given evidence to the Electoral Commission are all still supporters of Britain leaving the European Union.
Yeah, but and he explains that in the interview that we did, the part of the interview that we just showed. He says he doesn't, he still thinks the rules need to be followed, and they weren't in this particular instance. Can any of this have an impact on the actual result of the referendum?
I don't think so. There's no way in which the Electoral Commission, which governs elections in this country, can overturn the result on the basis of this. All they can do really is fine Vote Leave, which is a pretty meaningless gesture. Are they going to investigate this? Well, they have been investigating it for more than a year now. They've now got a whole pile more evidence, lots and lots of documents, the testimony of these whistleblowers. They could refer matters to the police. There could be a prosecution, but it's not going to overturn the referendum result. But what it does do is it helps the other side say, well, Vote Leave cheated, the result was close, it was a fraud, and so it helps the other side claim the moral high ground in the arguments, which of course are continuing over quite how Britain should leave the European Union, or indeed whether there ought to be a second referendum.
Yeah, that's interesting, because those voices, there are voices that want a second referendum on leaving the EU, or even that would want to cancel the first referendum. And so you're telling us you feel this will embolden those voices?
It will. It will help them say, well, it was the other side cheated, and here you have people who work for the other side who still support the principle on the other side who are coming forward to say that there was cheating. I don't think actually this is going to stop Brexit going ahead in a year's time.
All right, now let's talk about the situation with weather.
Yes, heavy rain, flooding could be a nightmare for the southern United States this coming week. Derek's on that one for us.
You know, it's spring season, and the Mississippi River often floods, but this particular season has been very difficult for places like Louisiana and to Mississippi, and we're monitoring that for the potential for even increased flooding threat later this week. And it could get nasty out here. Look at this, what's happening across the deep south. We're getting this area of high pressure. That's going to shift to the east. What that does with its clockwise flow, it's going to draw in the Gulf of Mexico moisture and allow for this flood threat to increase as rain starts to overspread places like Louisiana, Arkansas, into Mississippi, eastern Texas. We already have several rivers that are at major or moderate flood stage right along the Mississippi. You can see that shading of green that indicates the flood warnings that are in effect. So taking you through the rest of the work week, we're talking Sunday right through Friday, and you can just see the abundant amount of rainfall that will impact this region from Atlanta, Nashville to Little Rock, Dallas, as well as Houston and New Orleans. We could easily experience upwards of 6-8 additional inches of rainfall on top of what's already fallen across this area. On top of that, we have the potential for severe storms today and then once again tomorrow to start off the work week. First, we focus in on central Texas and southern Oklahoma, damaging winds, large hail, isolated tornadoes, and then that gets extended into Oklahoma City for the day on Monday. And on top of that, we also have a high fire threat for the Panhandle and into Arizona. So open fires not allowed within that region. So lots of weather to talk about across the U.S. Main threat, though, being flooding across the Mississippi.
All right. Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Derek.
Guys.
Still ahead coming, we will have more from the students, these students who are not staying silent about gun violence, and they're not mincing words.
To the leaders, skeptics, and cynics who told us to sit down and stay silent, wait your turn. Welcome to the revolution.
Olay Regenerist shatters the competition, hydrating skin better than prestige creams costing over $100, $200, and even $400. For skin that looks younger than it should. Fact check this ad in Good Housekeeping. Olay Regenerist, ageless.
Let's get started. Show of hands. Who wants customizable options chains? Ones that make it fast and easy to analyze and take action. How about some of the lowest options fees? Are you raising your hand? Good. And it's time for Power E-Trade, the platform price and service that gives you the edge you need. All right, one quick game of rock, paper, scissors. 1, 2, 3, go. E-Trade, the original place to invest online.
Brushing only reaches 25% of your mouth. Listerine cleans virtually 100%, helping to prevent gum disease and bad breath. Never settle for 25%. Always go for 100. Bring out the bold.
We believe in rock and roll. We believe in blasting it down the fairway, turning up the heat and the fun. At Del Webb, we believe in life well led, in your own beautiful, smartly designed home, in an active adult community with sushi eaters, artists, thrill seekers, and you. We believe you'll like it here.
Hey, Julie, I know today's critical, but I really need a sick day.
Dads don't take sick days. Dads take Dayquil Severe, the non-drowsy, coughing, aching fever, sore throat, stuffy head, no sick days medicine.
Luxury. The Jewelry Exchange has this rare GIA 3-carat D Flawless for $165, 5-carat Triple Excellent Round for $45, 4-carat VS1 cushion for only $34,000. Thousands of GIA diamonds guaranteed the lowest price. The Jewelry Exchange Direct.
You know their name. You don't know their whole story.
American Dynasties, The Kennedys. Tonight at 9 on CNN.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code GrazeBox24, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Introducing Free Prints, the free 5-star app that lets you get all those great photos off your iPhone or Android phone and into your hands in just days. Free Prints lets you print up to 1,000 4x6 photos a year absolutely free. All you pay is a small shipping and handling charge. It's easy. Just select the photos you want to print on your phone or on Facebook or Instagram, then choose the sizes and quantities, and you're done. The app is free, and so are the prints. Get Free Prints today. Just go to freeprints.tv. That's freeprints.tv.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
We're up coast to coast across the United States and live around the world this hour. You're watching CNN Newsroom. Good to have you with us. I'm George Howell.
I'm Natalie Allen. Our top stories this hour: huge crowds of protesters packed streets in the U.S. and in cities across the world Saturday to rally against gun violence in the United States. Survivors of last month's school shooting in Florida that killed 17 people, students and teachers, spearheaded the March for Our Lives rallies.
A former volunteer is accusing the Brexit campaign of breaking campaign spending rules. This whistleblower alleges Vote Leave used a separate campaign group to spend more than authorized than the campaign limit. Much of that money allegedly went to the Canadian data firm called Aggregate IQ, which has been linked to Cambridge Analytica. All parties are concerned. They deny the wrongdoing.
In Egypt, the director of security in Alexandria has survived an assassination attempt. State media report a makeshift bomb targeted his convoy on Saturday. Did they ever? Look at that. It killed 2 police officers, wounded several others. The blast comes ahead of Egypt's presidential election set to start on Monday.
Landmarks around the world went dark for Earth Hour on Saturday in a global call to address climate change. Take a look there in Paris. More than 180 countries participated this year. A new report from the World Wildlife Fund predicts plastic waste in the UK alone will rise by 20% in the next 12 years.
That's just the United Kingdom, of course. Plastic waste is all over our global oceans. Well, across the U.S. and in cities around the world, the scene on Saturday looked like this. Hundreds of thousands of people marching for their lives, demanding stricter gun laws in the U.S. and vowing to hold lawmakers accountable at the ballot box. Survivors of the mass shooting at a Florida high school last month are now activists saying never again.
Today, we take to the streets in over 800 marches around the globe and demand common sense gun laws. Today is the beginning of a bright new future for this country.
We cannot keep America great if we cannot keep America safe. And 96 deaths by firearm every day is not what I would call great.
It is time to fight for our lives. And I say there's only one way to do that. We need to rev up society. We need to rev up the engines. We need to rev up America.
Celebrities also participated in the marches, including singer Jennifer Hudson. She knows firsthand about gun violence. Her mother, brother, and nephew were killed in a shooting. She delivered a powerful performance. And then there was the Florida school shooting survivor, Emma Gonzalez. She closed the rally out. She was at the podium for some 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 20 seconds. For just over 4 of them stood there completely silent, measuring the length of time that it took for the gunman to kill 17 people at her school. Here's part of the impassioned speech that she had.
Everyone who has been touched by the cold grip of gun violence understands. For us, long, tearful, chaotic hours in the scorching afternoon sun were spent not knowing. No one understood the extent of what had happened. No one could believe that there were bodies in that building waiting to be identified for over a day. No one knew that the people who were missing had stopped breathing long before any of us had even known that a code red had been called.
The students from other schools also took to the stage, including 11-year-old Naomi Wadler.
Wadler had a particular message for the crowd in Washington that black women are part of the gun violence conversation.
I am here today to represent Cortland Arrington. I am here today to represent Hadia Pendleton. I am here today to represent Tiana Thompson, who at just 16 was shot dead in her home here in Washington, D.C. I am here today to acknowledge and represent the African American girls whose stories don't make the front page of every national newspaper.
For many of the people, too many of the people who spent Saturday marching in the streets, this is very personal. It is a fight against gun dangers.
You just heard from that little girl, certainly personal, but those people are coming together to offer each other comfort and support. CNN's Ed Lavandera met with a group of people in Washington whose friendship is carved in shared tragedy.
Moments known by a single headline brought them together. Aurora, Tucson, Orlando, Las Vegas, Clackamas, Virginia Tech. This group of about 15 people marched in Washington, survivors and victims' relatives of the most horrific mass shootings in U.S. history. They came to embrace the students of Parkland.
I hope that the signs that we're carrying saying we support them, that we're survivors, that they know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Pat Mace survived the shooting that almost killed Congresswoman Gabby Gifford 7 years ago. 6 died that day, 13 wounded. Mace wrestled away a magazine of bullets as the gunman tried to reload. The moment inspired her to become a gun control advocate as she listens to the Parkland students on stage.
And I will fight for all of us!
She's emboldened to pass the torch to the next generation.
The kids are done more than we have in years and years, so let's let them take the lead. Let's stand back and catch them when they fall or ask them what they need and give them what they need.
Each year, this group grows. The tragedies haven't stopped.
I wanted to find you guys. I wanted to be with you guys.
Heather Goose is new. She survived the Las Vegas ambush. Here she's in a crowd bonded by tragedy.
It's kind of sad because you don't even like introduce yourself by name. You just say like, oh, you're Columbine, I'm Vegas. Oh, you're Orlando, you're Sandy Hook. It's nice